My friends, it's Mason Winfield again with another installment of Psi Friday with Mason. Because we're so close to the sacred holiday of Halloween, I figured I'd talk a little bit about the origin of our customs. Before I do, I'd like to mention to you that Halloween, it was once a very sacred holiday. It was the New Year's Day to the ancient Celts. It was like their Christmas, everything rolled into one. It was a big day to the first historic Europeans. And it was generally celebrated the night before, which that's Halloween. The real day was November 1st. And they didn't use the same names we did for their months, but they had a very similar calendar. And it was the Day of the Dead, which meant it was the day you honor the ancestors. But because it was the New Year's Day to the Celts, it was the day when the old year ends and the new year begins. And there's a gap there, And, the Celtic mind that gave us Halloween, they really love these margins. I think they're called liminalia or, boundaries by folklorists. So New Year's Day, when the gap between the old year and the new, ought to be a perfect time for magic to happen, because the boundaries between the world of the living and the world of the magical beings, the gates open wide, and it's pretty easy to blunder into fairyland or the other world, and it's pretty easy for them to enter ours. And that's part of the reason for Halloween to seem kind of spooky to us, because the spook world overlaps with the real one for the ancient Celts. And a lot of our customs come from gestures of tributing the returning dead, because the Celts, they weren't scared of the human dead. They loved their ancestors. They wanted to honor them. So candles, open the doors, have a feast spread to welcome the ancestors back, the spirits of your beloved family dead. I mean, if my dad or grandparents or mother, came back to see me, I wouldn't be banning them with crosses and garlic. I'd be saying, hey, how you doing? How am I doing? But our customs of tribute, particularly food gifts, come from this aspect of Halloween. You lay out a bounty. The customs of the masks and the pranks probably related to that too, because in the old days, the village kids had a riot on Halloween because they would impersonate the returning dead. They knock on the door and they had these masks and stuff, and they'd get the treats that were laid out for the dead. And if they pretended they were the dead, so that might be where we get our customs of masquerade. Also, because the supernatural beings for the Celts were very diverse. They weren't just human-like fairies. They were, all kinds of bogies and beasties and goblins and many different forms. And some of them would look a little monstrous. And so that's probably the origin of our masquerade, is that the village children and then other people started impersonating the supernatural beings coming back on Halloween night. But my point with all of this stuff, the supernatural, the religious, the magical, the folklore, I'm trying to lift the bar. I'm really not here to try to scare you or something. I'm trying to give a little insight from my years of study and experience. And Halloween, it doesn't just need to be a party night. I mean, you can walk in the woods, get off by yourself. You've got sacred time right there. The day before and the day after are not going to be the same. There's one time of the year that you get one of these sacred nights comes along. And it's a night that you can use for enormous spiritual growth. Get by yourself with a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and write a poem. Really get into the moment. Light a candle, get some alone time. That's one way to do it. Of course, some years you need to go out and get blasted. As my native friends would say, you don't need somebody else's medicine. All you need is your medicine. And so for this Halloween, which is coming up in a couple of days, I hope you get your medicine. Cheers. Till the next time.